Hello everyone. Officially, I am glad to welcome you to our webinar, which is called Editorial Collaboration on Capacity for Dev platform. As I said before, maybe some of you joined a bit later, but my name is Marie Zamecnikova and I am the Community Manager of Capacity for Dev. At the beginning, I would like to say something about the organization of the webinar itself. Because, for example, when I am sharing my screen, I cannot really monitor what is going in the chat. So I would like to ask you that during the presentations, you will submit all of your questions that you might have into the chat, and some of our support team member will try to answer your question inside the chat, being as such. Or then at the end of our webinar, you will have 15 minutes of question and answers where you will be able to unmute yourself and to speak to us about, for example, something that was not really clear to you, something that you would like to have a repetition, more information about, or even any concern that we might have a look at. So what we will be actually covering today, we already had 15 minutes of networking, which was super interesting because there were people from the different fields and from different countries, which I always like to see and to connect with people from different parts of the world. And now we will get into the presentation of our guest, who is Dimitrios Chaidas, who is our communication officer of Capacity for Dev platform. To say something about Dimitrios, who already has his camera open. Dimitrios is a communication consultant and currently holds the position of the Capacity for Dev Communications Officer. He is a graduate and a fellow of the University of Oxford, the University of Edinburgh, and the National and Kapodistrian University of Athens. He joined the editorial team of Capacity for Dev in January 2021, and ever since he has collaborated with various partners such as European Union delegations, United Nations, civil society organizations, and many others for the production of articles mainly. He is the manager of the social media accounts of Capacity for Dev, and he contributes to the implementation of the platform's outreach strategy. So this was briefly about Dimitrios. So hello, Dimitri. How are you today?
Hello. I'm very happy to be with you. Hello. Thanks, Mary, for the introduction. I'm very glad to see so many members of our community joining from around the world. As Mary mentioned, today we will cover partnerships with the editorial team of Capacity for Dev. Let me first share my screen so that you are able to follow the key points of my presentation. As Marie mentioned, I'm the communications officer of Capacity for Dev, and today we will cover four main parts of potential partnerships, basically between Capacity for Dev and our community. You will be presented with some key areas of our work, and of course, you will be also presented with opportunities for partnerships between us and yourselves. The first part, as you'll see, is a presentation about editorial production. Here you'll be shown the process, the different type of products we create, and as well the level of involvement, potential involvement from your side. Then we will discuss the social media account of Capacity for Dev. Again, how you would be able to contribute. We will touch upon user-generated content, that is the content that you produce and create and publish on Capacity for Dev. And last but not least, we'll discuss about the outreach activity of our team. Without further delay, I will start with the editorial production. As Capacity for Dev, as you know, we pay a lot of attention to knowledge sharing. As a platform that is focused on knowledge sharing, we produce articles, knowledge sharing pieces, together with partners that include the DigiIMPA headquarters. I would say the RELX family at large. We work with DigiNear, the European External Action Service, EU delegations. We have worked with the United Nations, the different agencies such as UNEP, FAO, UNHCR. We have worked with civil society organizations who basically implement EU-funded projects around the world. We produce just I hope that my presentation is still there. Yes, we produce two types of articles. The landmark publication of Capacity for Dev is the so-called Voices and Views articles. And the second type of articles we produce is editor spotlight articles. The difference between the two is basically that the Voice Reviews, as I said, is the landmark, the biggest that require a lot of work for its production. And the Editor Spotlight articles are shorter articles that we publish within a public group of Capacity for Dev. The Voice Reviews feature development actors from across the world. And as you will see in my next slide, we collaborate with more stakeholders. Both articles aim to share knowledge. And by that, I need to highlight that the focus of these articles is to share best practices, tips, lessons learned from EU-funded projects, and the focus is rather operational. What we want to know is what worked in a project, what didn't work, and why. The project that we focus on, especially for the Voices and Views articles, are mainly EU funding interventions. So when we decide to work with partners, we choose one EU funding intervention. It could be anywhere in the world. It could be in a country falling under DG or another country falling under DigiNear. The content production is done in two ways. The first way is the work done by us, the editorial team. And the second way is the creation of content by external partners. Now, in both cases, the editorial team is involved. In the first way, obviously, more actively. And the second way is involved by providing guidelines about our format, about our editorial line, and about the quality of the contents. And the third resemblance between the two types of articles is that they both get disseminated through our social media accounts. How they differ. Interviews and video production are foreseen for the Voices and Views articles, but not for the Editor Spotlight articles. If you would like to submit an idea to the editorial team, you can outline the topic, the angle, the proposed level of your involvement in the article production, but also speakers for interviews in the case of the Voices and Views. You can contact us by writing an email at support@capacity.eu, and the editorial team will get back to you to discuss further, and of course to arrange meetings that would help you in this process. Social media. On social media, the Capacity for Dev owns 5 accounts. We have an account on Facebook, we have an account on LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube, and SoundCloud. Now, these 5 accounts are used in a rather different way based on our needs and priorities as a team. We are using, let's say, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter to share content that is produced both by Capacity for Dev, but also by the users. On YouTube, we have two accounts. We have one account that is managed by Capacity for Dev, that is the main channel. And we have a second channel that was mentioned by Marie earlier, which is the members channel. This is a channel basically that is dedicated to the community, to our members, and the content there is basically produced by our community. So it's yes, a channel that can facilitate, let's say, teams that have produced or that have organized webinars, and you need to use this online space to upload and disseminate your content. And last but not least, we have also a SoundCloud account, and it is also so far used mainly for members of our community that have uh, produced podcasts. For example, the latest additions is a series of Inca podcasts, the so-called Cup of Tea podcast series, and it's available there, and you're kindly invited to follow the podcast. As I mentioned, the type of content disseminated through our social media accounts is two. Is content that we have produced as a team. For example, linked to our publications or to our events, like the webinar you are attending today with us. And apart from that, the capacity for dev content, we have the user-generated content. Now, this is, I think, particularly relevant, especially for you, because in this one, you are involved. I will mention more later on regarding the user-generated content. To continue with social media, our priority and our focus is to give visibility to our community. The community to be at the face of our social media accounts, as it is the face of our platform. For the social media content, we have worked the past 1.5 years extensively with group owners and administrators, again, in the context of our effort to give visibility. So every 6 months, we choose and we promote through our social media accounts public groups of capacity for dev that are particularly active. And what we do is we make a first short listing, then we contact the Gogas, we ask them to improve certain aspects of their groups or update certain information that needs to be updated. And we produce a dedicated visual, and we promote those public groups on our social media accounts, inviting people to join and also check the content created and disseminated among the members of that group. The user-generated content. As you know, Capacity for Dev is a community platform. So we rely a lot on our members, on our active members, to create, publish content. What we do is to give the opportunity to our members to have a more prominent space on our platform. So on a weekly basis, we check, we monitor the content that has been added by our members. And what we do is we identify those pieces of content that meet our criteria that will be presented to you later on. And we disseminate this content on the homepage of Capacity for Dev, namely we feature it, and through our social media account. Now, somebody might wonder, okay, how is this selection done? Based on what criteria? The main criteria are presented here to you. And the first will be, we are looking for content that is diverse. Diverse, I mean here, of course, the type of content, whether it's a discussion in a group, whether it's an event, but also diversity is important. Let's say we try to pick content that is linked to different policy areas. We try, let's say, to have a representation of content. We normally avoid to publish content only linked to education or only linked to democracy. What we try is to have representation of policy areas as well. We want content that is timely. For example, content, a discussion regarding an event that happened, let's say, 5 months ago, might be relevant if there is a video, but in terms of time, it's not ideal from our point of view. So we prefer timely content. The third factor that is important is what accompanies the text. Let's say if you publish a discussion, it's more likely to have your content featured if this text is accompanied by some visual elements, multimedia content. That is an important factor, I must say, the third criteria. And the fourth, which is the X factor, I would say, is the overall quality. So if the three previous criteria are there and you have produced content that meets quality standards, that is not, let's say, we have, for example, members of our community that publish a discussion, and this discussion includes literally 2 sentences. This content will not be featured and will not be promoted for obvious reasons because there isn't a lot of work behind this. The fourth part of this presentation, as described at the beginning, touches upon outreach. Capacity for Dev pays a lot of, it's very important for Capacity for Dev to increase our outreach efforts. We work on it a lot, but also on outreach partnerships. Lately, over the past months, we have worked on creating new products that again highlight our community. In the coming weeks, days, and months, as you will see fresh new content that is produced for the community. And in having in mind, when we produce these products, we had in mind to basically answer the community's questions, also needs that change over time, and we want to make the best for our community to improve their user experience on the platform, but also to get the most out of this out of Capacity for Dev in general. So this is a teaser for you. Stay tuned because we will publish very interesting materials and products. Some of them have been recording, have been in production for many months, and we are confident that you will find them very useful. The second very important activity and priority of our team is our participation in the European Development Days. As many of you, if not all of you, know that the EDDs is one of the biggest events of the European Commission, and it's definitely the biggest event of DG INPA. Capacity for Dev participated this year in 2022. It was the first, let's say, event that, yes, after 2 years of pandemic, that it was basically included a physical but also an online presence from the participants, and Capacity for Dev couldn't miss it. We participated and we basically included a series of activities that involved the community. We recorded a lot of content highlighting our members, their work, how they use Capacity for Dev, how Capacity for Dev has benefited their work, and more material as you stay tuned. You will find them very soon disseminated through our platforms. Of course, we cannot miss our next European Development Days, which will happen next year. We are currently at the stage of brainstorming, evaluating what worked, what didn't work in our participation this year. And our goal again is to come up with ideas how we can work with partners and community members for the next version. And the third aspect of our outreach strategy is forging synergies. What we are currently working on, and we will be dedicating more efforts and time in the coming weeks and months, is to forge more synergies with platforms and initiatives that share that have a similar focus as capacity for dev, capacity building, knowledge sharing. We want to basically work with them so that we identify common areas of interest to see how we can benefit them and how they can benefit us. And we also want to start working more with individuals that have a considerable follower base on social media, that they have a presence, but also an impact, and we want to embed them in our outreach efforts and partnerships in and as well, I can add that we like them to have them engaged and yeah, be basically advocating for capacity for dev. Now for outreach, but also for social media and obviously for the articles, we are open to proposals and ideas. So the main message that I would like to give to you is that our team is open, collaborative, and welcoming ideas and proposals. Some of them might not be present today, but we would be happy to hear from you. If you have an idea that might be linked to those things, those aspects presented to you today, please feel free to reach out. The point of this webinar is to know us. You know Marie, you know me now, and yeah, we believe that there is a lot there. We hope that the community will be there. We expect the community to be there. And you can reach out by contact me. You see here my email address. And I would like also to invite you, if you haven't done it yet, to follow us on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube, and SoundCloud. Now, I will give the floor to Marie, and we can, of course, answer any questions that you have. We can be even more specific in certain areas that I was more general, and yeah, we'll be happy to answer those questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dimitri. It was a really fruitful presentation, I have to say. Even though we are colleagues, I made a lot of notes, and I would like to highlight the fact that Capacity for Dev is a knowledge sharing platform which is focusing on lesson learned, especially when it comes to the editorial content. And I liked also what you said about the criteria as such, that it should be timely. We are looking for the diversity, but also like when it comes to the content creation as such, it's that 80% of the content on Capacity for Dev is created by the community itself, and the editorial team is actually working on the 20%, being, for example, the voices and views or other aspect. I just hear myself in echo for some reason, but I think that now it's actually better. And we had a question in our chat, which was more specific towards how actually our community as a content generators can add value to Capacity for Dev platform. This question I found really interesting and really straight to the point, even though there are many ways how to do so, because actually, Joseph, if I'm not mistaken, you are a member of Capacity for Dev for 1 month. So I was quite surprised because sometimes there are a lots of contents to be explored on Capacity for Dev platform. And then I actually find out that you also submitted a project which is focusing on robotics for precision, but then actually it's still pending. And I was writing you an email if you can be more specific about what is actually the focus of the group as such, so that we can get it approved. Because as a content generator, it means that you either submit to Capacity for Dev group or project. So you can be the group owner or administrator, having, for example, this project being robotics for precision, where you would generate the content. So then your team, which has over 25 years of experience in the digital content architecture, they are then they can then publish different kind of articles, and they can build the community as such on our platform. So I would say that this is the main part when it comes to the community content, and you being the content generator, where probably you didn't explore it yet to that extent. So I would suggest in this part to probably get in touch after this webinar and get the robotics for precision submitted on Capacity for Dev, and we can get then your team move towards the digital content architecture on Capacity for Dev as such. I hope that this answered your question. Maybe you have some additional note to this, or maybe also Dimitri, some comment to what was just mentioned. Yes, Joseph? You just
Yes, thank you. Thank you for explaining more, because as every content platform, the complexity must always be explained. The digital architecture must always be explained. So I thank you very much. Yes, Heron robotics mass platform, it is a project based on robotics, but for the mass, for the people, to introduce people which have no knowledge of engineering, no knowledge of coding, no knowledge of algorithms and artificial intelligence. So it is a project to educate people, to let them understand the emerging scenario of the third millennium. We are designers and builders of robots, insect-inspired robots, not looking like humans, but looking like insects. We are building the insect ecosystem for the space economy. So I think it is really interesting project for a lot of people. Thank you.
Thank you very much for this insight, and I think it's super relevant, especially because DG International Partnership and Commission is organizing actually European Development Days each year, and the last year in 2022, which means this year, actually they also had the topic of digitalization. So I think that it's a really timely topic, and a lot of people are now speaking about artificial intelligence. So your group will be definitely beneficial on our platform. So thank you for this insight. Anything, Dimitri, you would like to add to this digitalization topic, or anything related to the content?
To this, I think no, Marie provided the necessary information. Maybe something that I would like to add regarding our content production is that I didn't mention it, is that that is more about the process that we have. We work on the basis of an editorial plan for our publications. That means that we allocate a certain number of publications per month. We try to link this content to international days. And especially for the creation of voices and views articles, we start well in advance. Normally the process lasts 3 months. Because as you can imagine, coordinating at the local level with implementing partners takes time to plan. So it's a long process. The same is true for the social media content that we again work on the basis of the social media plan. That is good for our planning, but this can have some kind of restrictions sometimes. Let's say when our members email me asking for support, we try our best to respond to this request, to publish content, to advertise events that the community is organizing, or disseminate new products. But sometimes it might be challenging if the requests are sent at the same time. So we might need some more time and not be as immediate as the community members would expect. something additional. I see also another question regarding what kind of content can be published on Capacity for Dev. Well, if when it comes to the articles that we produce, we don't have a restriction regarding the topic, the policy area, as long as we have certain requirements met, as I mentioned. That is, we have a specific focus on an intervention. And normally these interventions are EU funded and implemented by other organizations. And we want to not to say, hey, we did it amazing. We had a great results, this number of outputs, or we're not interested in this. Of course, partners want to highlight what they did. We included somehow in the article, but this is not our main focus or priority. We want to improve the quality of interventions around the world. So that's why we're seeking to learn about tips, best practices, lessons learned from previous interventions. Hope this clarifies a bit. Any other
Uh, I,
questions?
I actually have a question for you, Dimitri, if I may.
Yes.
You were mentioning the planning. I have a question if actually our community, if they have their own group or project, if they can write you and you can include them in the planning, because you were saying, for example, the international days, etc. But for example, if Susan, who was actually mentioning that they don't have the communication team, if
Yeah.
people can actually get into the planning calendar of yours, as you are the communication officer.
Interesting, Maria, because Suzanne is particularly active and we are regularly in communication. So when she needs something, says, "Hey, Dimitri, can we publish something about this?" The best way and the fastest is to email me directly, as it is the case with our active members. We also have a group dedicated to the Gogas. Marie is managing and monitoring this group very often. So whatever is posted there and it's of relevance to content creation, uh, reaches the editorial team. Um, so yeah, I hope this answers, Marie.
Yes,
It's interesting
definitely.
having your it's very nice, like, because we work on a daily basis together and we keep discovering things about the work of our colleagues.
Yes,
And
of
something else I would like to add, sorry, on a more general scope, is that on social media we dedicated budgets for the promotion of content through advertising. That means that when we have a new voice in use, we advertise it not only organically, but also by paid campaigns. We have articles that have been read by thousands, like of reads. And again, the focus of our article, the areas that we cover, define the targeting that we follow when it comes to advertising through social media. Something that I didn't mention earlier. Yes, Joseph, I see you have another question?
I think that the question
Joseph?
was going to you, Joseph, because you have still your hand raised. So if you have something else you would like to ask to Dimitri, maybe not. So I will lower your hand. But anybody else have a question to Dimitri, to the editorial team, or even from the community aspect related? So you have some issue or suggestion or anything you would like to share with us? Because we have actually now time to discuss anything related to the platform as such. So if you have any question, just unmute yourself, or you can also write it down into the chat, and we may try to answer it. And
If I may
mhm.
add to what Marie just said, apart from what was presented and discussed during this webinar, we're interested in finding out and hearing from you what you would like to see from us. Now, many of you know that we will soon migrate to a new platform, so stay tuned for that too. But if you have ideas or yes, or how we can better involve the community in our work, that is also welcome and that we want to hear. We're not here to hear only, hey, you good things, or So please feel free to do that. And I see in the now chat members that have been using Capacity for Dev for quite some time. So this will be definitely welcome from our side.
I might have one more question then. How long it takes to actually produce an article as such? So if some of the people who are now following our webinar and they would like to collaborate with the editorial team, how long it takes to actually, are you having different kind of stages for producing an article?
Definitely. First of all, it depends on the article. If somebody doesn't want to dedicate so much time and effort, we can work for shorter articles that are published in public groups of Capacity for Dev. So if you would like to suggest an article covering visualization, we have a relevant group, public group that would host this article. So the length of this process really depends on let's say, even if we take, for example, voice reviews that we have produced in the past, we have articles that we produced very fast because not various stakeholders were involved in this EU-funded project, but also, or it might be a project that is more complex. Last year, November 2021, we published an article on cross-border and environmental collaboration, and basically we covered a project in the Middle East in conflict-affected areas. So for this basically article to be produced, we worked with grassroots organizations. So it was a more complex process, as you can imagine. Also for it was a more sensitive topic, and that article required more effort from our side. Of course, as I mentioned, it's also linked, this question, to who produces the article. It's one option, us, to do the production. The other option is also external contributors to write their own article based on the guidelines that we will provide. That would speed up the process if the guidelines are met. If not, it takes more time from our side. So if there is flexibility also from the community and willingness to produce the article themselves, have a more active role, then it increases the possibility for us to say, yes, let's work on this, even if we have a fully booked calendar for the months ahead.
I think that I was muted. Sorry. Thank you so much for answering the question. Is anybody else having a question for Dimitri regarding the editorial collaboration, any content creation, or any other feedback or anything you would like to share with us when we are here in the call as a support team? You always can also reach out to the support at the capacityfordev.eu email, where we can help you with any issue that you might be facing. However, when actually you are in the call with someone, you can get much better feedback or the way how to actually solve this issue. I would just like to raise one more crucial thing regarding the migration as such, because as Dimitri said, we are now migrating our platform. So we will have a new platform in 2023. And some of you already could receive an email saying about the purge and merge users, which means that we are trying to actually move all of our users to the new platform. And I would like to just invite you all, if you didn't do so the last few months, to log in into Capacity for Dev platform, or for example, you are a group owner or administrator of a community, or being the virtual space such as group or project on Capacity for Dev. If you can notify your users, your members, about actually logging in to Capacity for Dev platform, and just to notify them as such, because this will be the crucial part of the migration. And also we are always welcoming any queries that you might have in these terms. So I would like to give Dimitri, if you have some last note regarding the editorial collaboration or anything you would like to add at the end, because I don't see that anybody would ask some another question, because probably everything was super clear that you mentioned.
I invite you to work with us. I think Capacity for Dev really offers opportunities for visibility, also visibility among the European Commission. So basically, if you're interested in giving visibility to your work, I think it's a great opportunity for you to seize. And as I said, you know us now, reach out to us, please. We'll be happy to hear.
Thank you so much. And speaking so much, it was pleasure to spending time to you. Thank you for Dimitri for your time and for being so active, all of our participants. And I will get in touch with you after this webinar with all of you, with sending you the presentation that Dimitri was sharing with us today and all our other information that we said. So thank you so much, and I wish you have a nice rest of the day.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank
Bye.
you. Goodbye.